Howdy, y'all. Today I'll be bowling at the Bowlero in Fullerton, California. Just traveling around to some different bowling alleys, practicing on a new approach I've been working on, tweaking some things before going to my next PBA tournament. So we'll just be going over some of the steps I've been working on and hand release. But make sure, if you want to see more content like this, you subscribe and click that little bell notification to receive all notifications of upcoming videos. So today we're not really going for score. Obviously I want good scores, but I'm trying to really nail down some of the steps I've been making and the way I've been making them. My first couple steps, I normally had my knees bent, but we're keeping them straighter longer. And also my release. Since my wrist has been bothering me quite a bit more lately, I've been having to change my release down quite a bit. So we're using a lot of slow-mo today just to go over that. Normally my thumb would be more around 3 o'clock once I've released the ball. I've been trying to keep it more at 1 to 1:30. It's been doing much better for my wrist. Still hurts, but not near as much. And also been working with the Storm IQ Tour edition. This new bowling ball just got drilled at Cal Bowl. So that was my first game, practicing with the IQ. So I had Jason at Pro Approach Bowling drill this one, and one thing I noticed about this lane, at least, I only bowled on one lane at the Bowlero Fullerton, was that if I lofted the ball over 1.5 to 2 feet out on the lane, it bounced a lot. My guess for this would be that it is due to the wood lanes, because I believe this bowling alley has been around for quite a while. I've not bowled at this one as far as I can recall, but if I would get the ball in the lane fairly soon, it didn't bounce as much. But there were a couple boards to where it seemed like the closer I got to the foul line, the more it bounced, and the further out, the less. But it just depended on what shot I was making, what line I was putting down there. So you can see that ball bouncing. It bounced quite a bit. It never really made too much of a difference once it hit the pins. There were a few shots, though, that I did feel it made quite a bit of difference. So it was good to practice on trying to get that exact pinpoint spot once the ball hits the floor to where it doesn't. I would rather not have it bounce, because that's another factor I don't have to worry about. So it was really good. I had some good shots, naturally had some bad shots. I was working on just trying to get consistency. I wasn't always going for the spares. I'm trying to get that strike ball down. And this ball right here is the Storm Reality. Or is it 900 Global Reality? It's one of the newer ones. I don't do the best remembering all the bowling balls. Before this past year, I only had 2 bowling balls at a time. Even before that, I normally just had 1 bowling ball. So I don't do the best remembering the names of them. I just try and remember what they do on the lanes. That's tricky enough sometimes. So most of these shots, interestingly enough, I wasn't able to get the proper release that I was wanting to. I knew what I wanted to do, I just wasn't doing it. It wasn't too frustrating, still having fun doing it, but I was just trying to get that consistency, that proper release. So right here, my thumb's at 1:30, but right when I bring it down, it's already going to 3 o'clock. And I wouldn't quite feel it until I released it, but watching the video over and over again, I could definitely see it happening. So there I over-rotated, and it looked like it just threw the ball out a little bit too far. But also it was fun seeing all the different reactions of different bowling balls on the lanes. It's nice when you have a little bit of a whoopsie moment and it still does good. Had a couple of those. They just keep falling, which is nice. So it was a good game. Felt I could have done better, but I'm not going for scores. I do like seeing high scores, but main thing is getting the practice on what needs to be focused on. I'd rather have really poor games and get what I want to focus on done. So that way, once I get to tournaments or into certain leagues, that I can perform even better. By this point, I'm already sweating quite a bit. You can see the back of the shirt. I was just going non-stop. I don't like taking a bunch of breaks during bowling. I like to build up that stamina. Today I only did 6 games. I know that's very little in comparison to some of the tournaments, but my wrist was bothering me quite a bit, and I was just trying to focus on that release and the legs. Right off on this approach, I already bent my knees too soon. I just wasn't quite getting it all there, but it was really good practice nonetheless. So we're going with the purple hammer on this one. And it just bounces. It looks so goofy when I'm watching the video because I don't like seeing it bounce. I know some folks, it works well for them. For me, I just don't care for it because I want it on the lane. I don't want a variable of it bounces more one time, bounces less another. And some of the shots I could definitely tell that the more it bounced, it felt as though it didn't come up into the pocket as well. Other times it seemed to make no difference. So I wasn't quite sure what to think about that. And I was just going back and forth over all the balls in my arsenal. I only take 6 with me. That's pretty much the max I want to take. So I went back and forth between the Code Black, which is normally my spare ball, but I use it for a strike ball and a couple of shots. Went through the Idol, the Reality, the IQ, Tour Edition, the Purple Hammer, and my Proton Physics. I did not have as much success with Proton Physics before, but I had it re-drilled somewhat recently, and then I sanded it down to a very rough surface, and it has seemed to perform better, but it's never been that high hooker that I bought it to be. Normally, my Purple Hammer or my 900 Global Reality will hook more. So we're back with the Reality on this one. Still getting a good, decent swing. I've been trying to slow down my ball speed quite a bit because it was just getting too fast and it was hurting the wrist sooner during practice and during leagues and tournaments. So I've been trying to slow that down, get more rotation on the ball, or let the ball roll more, let it do its job instead of me trying to force it. And it has definitely been seeming to do better. I went from about throwing 21 miles an hour to going down to 18 miles an hour. So, big difference for me. So we only did the 6 games, had a good amount of scores, decent scores even though I was just practicing. I really like the aesthetics of the Bowlero Fullerton. Remind me of a 50s era house, and I really like the lights and the colors in there. It just looked really cool. It's not what you see all the time in a bunch of different bowling alleys. So if you enjoy this, please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. And I'll be posting more of this soon, especially with the PBA tournament coming up. We'll see you in the next one.